Hi, my name is Kevin Lopez. I'm an Azure Stack Global Black Belt, and I'm joined here today by Jason Hinton.
Hi, I'm Jason Hinton. I work with partners in the Chicagoland area. I'm a partner development manager, and I'm here to talk about the pros and cons and the challenges of partnering with Microsoft.
Yeah. So for those, just a quick review of Azure Stack. So Azure Stack is an extension of Azure, right? But it's in customer's environment. So either a customer says, I want to house it in my headquarters or at one of my locations, or they use a co-location, or they're buying it from a managed service provider. So contained within all that is a ton of opportunities for partners. So this talk is really focused around those kind of partners and focused around what at the beginning is needed to really get into play there. So I asked Jason to join us today to talk a little bit about that, because he's the expert with how to get a partner going, what we need to do to kind of get things advanced. So Jason, tell us from the beginning, right? If I'm just a partner and I see Azure Stack and I see, there's hardware now coming into play, there's services, service possibilities, there's architectural possibilities, all these different things. What do I need? Because oftentimes we get hit with, hey, I want to be an Azure Stack partner, and we first ask, well, what's your MPN ID? So can you guide us through what is MPN and how does the partner go about getting set up on that?
Absolutely, Kevin, thanks. So one of the things that we'll have some content that'll go into more detail on this. I call it acronyms for becoming a Microsoft partner, because we can't do anything without a three-letter acronym. Right. So my partners are typically gold partners that have worked with Microsoft for a number of years. They have architects. Some of them are still developing their Azure practice. And so we're saying that's sort of where you want to be, and that's where we're talking with Kevin's group now in terms of Azure Stack, right? But if you go back and you look at what the opportunities are, let's say you're working with AWS, a hardware partner, you're doing something else and you're wanting to get engaged with Microsoft, right? So the Managed Partner Network is the MPN piece, right? You sign up for it, you get your MPN ID, and then from that, the next level would be the Cloud Solution Provider program. So Cloud Solution Provider is a way to sell Azure and develop that Azure practice. So you'd want to have both of those. Best path is to be indirect. You work with a distributor. So you probably already have a hardware relationship with someone like Ingram or Tech Data or Synex. That's going to be a component of that. Those two pieces are critical. Now for Kevin's piece, Azure Stack is looking at an Azure environment that is an on-prem hardware, right? But really, we want you to have the ability and build over time that you can go fully to the cloud, not just on-prem with Azure configuration. So really, if you're looking at it, Kevin, for you to get Microsoft's attention as a partner, you need to do those two things to sign up, and we'll include links and things for that. But you also need to start to develop a business case around Azure and what you're going to do with customers, because the challenge is, I think people see something and they say it's cool or it's this or, I want to get involved in it. And the challenge is they don't know what problems they're solving for customers. I go to partners all the time and say, hey, we want to develop this new practice area. And they go, who am I going to sell it to, right? So if you're looking at Azure Stack or you're looking at Azure, you're looking at a cloud practice, either have the vision to be a thought leader to your customer base, or already look at and know there's an existing gap in what you're providing for your customers today and how this is going to fill it, right? Because there's a lot of work and it's going to take potentially a year or two to try to get to the point where you would get sort of bubbled up to someone like me. So make sure you have a strong business case for why you're driving there. We want you to go there, but you have to have that drive to invest the time and resources to get there.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So just to kind of make it almost a ladder approach, right? So I had a couple partners, approach me recently, and they're looking to become an Azure Stack partner. So the first question that I ask them is, do you have an MPN ID or do you have a partner development manager that you're working with? So if they say no, then the MPN or Microsoft Partner Network is what you're talking about. So a customer has to sign up for that in order to get to the next steps on the ladder, correct?
Right.
Okay. So if now I signed up, I did MPN, how long is it going to take me to develop my Azure practice? What are some of the things I need to consider? Do I have to hire people? Do I, what should I be doing?
Okay. So one of the things that I think would be really helpful is if you already, let's say you're already doing workloads with O365. as an unmanaged partner, so once you get an MPN ID, you would be an unmanaged partner. As that, you can apply for the Cloud Mentor program. The Cloud Mentor program actually will help you, and you provide them with a list of opportunities, and they can be, like I said, O365 opportunities. They will help and nurture you, provide resources that I, as a partner development manager, can't, to help you grow that Azure practice. So I have partners who today do a lot of O365, don't really do anything in terms of workloads in Azure, and we're trying to get them there. So we have them get with the Cloud Mentor program. However, they're going to tell you these are probably some of the people you're going to need to hire. You probably will need to, at some level, have a junior architect that grows into a true architect. You'll have to have some of your technical people that are strong and are strong on-prem architects to understand Azure. And recently we provide a lot of free training and also discounted certifications to really get to build up that Azure muscle in people who are strong technically on-prem but don't really know Azure.
Okay. So the opportunity exists to kind of get yourself there. There's also another opportunity. So you also have the ability to team up, right? So you can work, as Jason mentioned, maybe you work with a partner to do the licensing component to it, or maybe you work with a partner that has an Azure practice and you bring a specific strength to that relationship. So there's definitely joint opportunities you could do that, but everything starts in MPN. So there's training and stuff out in MPN too, correct?
Well, you have opportunities for training. So once you get into the MPN system, you'll get various emails, and we actually talk about the fire hose. You get probably more emails than you want.
Right.
But you'll get opportunities for training, and that's critical. The one thing that I would say though is you have the opportunities. It's how to filter it and how to take advantage of what's most important. Kevin, one of the things I was thinking about, as you were saying, partnering with someone, right? Where I see this as being valuable is if you know there's a niche or you have experience in an industry or subset or segment that you think is critical and you have a solution, but you can't execute that solution, then find a partner who can execute it and you have your solution be your secret sauce that you're selling as part of that partnering process, as opposed to, there's no reason for you necessarily to build out a whole practice just to deliver a solution if somebody else can already help you with that sort of underpinning practice point. And I think you were going to cover that a little bit later for how you partner in Azure Stack.
Yeah, so for Azure Stack, I'll give you a good example. So if you're possibly a co-location provider, right? You provide, your niche is really space, power, all the things that customers need, and maybe you provide even some managed services contained within there, but you don't have an Azure practice. Well, it might be in your best interest to then find some of the systems integrators that have Azure practices that can be that go-to, right? They can help the customers once everything's in place, the OEM sets it up, says, here's your keys, you're off and running, the Azure bits are installed, and now a systems integrator within your co-location facility can then help them to develop the plans and offerings and be a service point and help guide them on their journey within Azure. So that's one example. Now there's many, many, many others that you can go to, but that's a good example of that. Now, let's kind of keep the flow going, right? So you're an MPM partner, you're developing Azure. Now we want you to get that kind of sponsorship, or Microsoft grants you access, or it says, hey, you know what? There's this thing that we have today. It's called the Azure Stack Early Adoption Initiative. I don't know if that name's going to stick because it's not early any longer. So let's see what happens in FY19 and kind of going forward. But once you're able to do that, then you're going to get access to this site here, right? So this site, I can't go into details on the site, but this site is going to be your all-encompassing place to go to. So what you get with it is that this is going to be all self-service. So you can go in, it's going to tell you it's going to give you technical training, it's going to give you background, it's going to give you how-to videos, it's going to give you kind of walkthrough sheets, pricing sheets, and models to set up in your environment. So the key thing there is based off of your specialties and your service, right? So there is no one answer. There isn't, hey, let me just sit with Kevin and the global black belts and they're going to tell me what my offering looks like and how I should go about doing that. It's really meant for you to play to your strengths, to find that secret sauce that Jason mentioned, and then say, okay, here's the pricing that I have about Azure Stack. Here's what I know about what I can do with it, and now let me put together my offer. So anything that we skip over or that you think?
The one thing I think is critical, and Kevin, based on what we talked about, I think you've had some partners come to you about this, is building a practice, in my estimation with my partners, is not around building an Azure practice or an Azure Stack practice or a D365 practice. It's more about what is the problem you're going to solve and who are you going to solve it for and who you're going to sell to and make lots of money and margin on it, right? And oh, by the way, underneath is Azure Stack or Azure or D365 or something else. And so really, I think you want to come to this and go, this is one of the ways I could accomplish what I think I can make money on and sell to customers. And then this technology on the back end is just sort of the underpinnings. Have the thought beforehand, before you even come to any of us, Kevin and his group included, that you feel like there's a solution, you're not sure how to execute it, you've heard Azure Stack might be an answer, and then if all the boxes are checked, then go through the process, take the steps, and that'll help you move forward, right? But have that first, because building a practice around a technology that Microsoft sells is not going to be the highest margin practice and will then still be a struggle to sell. If you can solve a problem and it's on these technologies, it will sell itself if it gets sort of the right traction and the right bits and pieces are put together.
The solution selling.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to recap, right? So think of it as a ladder, right? Start with MPN, Microsoft Partner Network. If you're not signed up, sign up there, and then continue your journey, right? Find a solution like Jason's talking about and figure out where that takes you, and look for the information that's out there. Ask questions. So let us know if you have ideas, you want to bounce something off. My email is kevlopez@microsoft.com. Jason, I don't know if you want to give out all yours.
Absolutely. Jason Hinton at Microsoft.com. So please reach out to us if we can help.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your time today, and we'll see you at the next video.
Thanks so much.